Every day, the woman has to teach her daughter how to shoot, how to siphon gasoline from a car's gas tank, and even make her drive the car in the dead of night. Although her daughter strongly resists, she has no choice but to obey her mother's orders to survive. In this future world, a strange disaster strikes humanity. Everyone suddenly develops an inability to sleep. On the first day of insomnia, people didn't realize how serious the situation was. The price of sleeping pills just skyrocketed. By the second day, even though people were willing to pay a premium, it was hard to get any pills. But even with sleeping pills, they still couldn't sleep. The oddest part was that patients in the hospital who had been paralyzed for decades suddenly started regaining consciousness. At first, the main character, Lisa, didn't realize that everyone was suffering from collective insomnia. Since her daughter could still sleep normally, Lisa casually mentioned this to a colleague. Upon hearing this, the colleague became intrigued and asked where her daughter was. Actually, there was another elderly person who could still sleep, but they were locked up in a research facility. In an effort to quickly figure out the cause of the insomnia, this elderly person had already been subjected to countless experiments. After hearing her colleague's words, Lisa quickly lied, claiming she didn't remember, and rushed to her home on a bicycle. Along the way, cars were already parked in chaotic positions, as though signaling that a greater crisis was approaching. Lisa anxiously opened the door and frantically called out her daughter's name.
Matilda!
She didn't want her daughter to be taken for research.
Your sister, where is your sister?
He told her that his sister and grandma had just left for the church. Without wasting any time, Lisa and her son prepared to head there. But unexpectedly, Lisa's colleague followed them all the way. He began to persuade Lisa to send her daughter to the research facility for study, explaining that only by developing a cure could humanity have any hope. Lisa, however, had no time to listen to his nonsense. She grabbed her bag and rushed out in a panic. By now, it was the third day of humanity's insomnia, and people were beginning to experience hallucinations. The once busy streets were now even more chaotic. But when Lisa arrived at the church, the people there refused to let her daughter leave. Lisa's colleague tried to explain, but to his surprise, the security guard, who was experiencing a hallucination, shot him dead. Lisa took this chance to escape with her daughter. At this point, her son began urging Lisa. He reasoned that rather than running, it would be better to send his sister to the research facility. If a cure could be developed, everyone could be saved. After hearing her son's words, Lisa, who had been so sure of herself before, began to waver. So, they decided to head for the research facility.